Friends and family, welcome back to another video. Now, we're here to be real, okay? We're going to talk about weaves that show, nappy or different textured edges that just don't look good, okay? So we're here to talk about that and how we can conceal it so that our weave looks a little bit more realistic. So this is my sister's hair. I have braided it and I'm about to do the sewing for her. Now her hair is very, very thick. And it's 4C Kinky Coily, and so we want to make sure that we have a nice flat part in the front. She's going to have a closure, okay? So we first want to make sure the hair is moisturized and well oiled at the scalp. So we're putting the scalp oil on, and then we're going to put some moisturizer on the braids themselves. So that's what I usually do to prepare the hair for the weave or the sewing. Okay, now when I start with the sewing, I want to start with the closure because I want to place it exactly where the person wants it or where I want it, and then I sew the rest of the hair around it. So here I am putting the closure on there, making sure it's in place, and I'm using my method that I used before where I have two different needles, one on each side, so that I don't have to keep cutting the thread to move from one side to the other in order to stabilize and secure the closure. So that's what I'm doing here. And it's a curly kind of silky hair, as you can see. So you want to make sure that the closure is secure. And in order to secure it, I usually make sure that I pull the thread to the other end, like from ear to ear, and just to make sure that it stays down and flat. So even when she has some growth, the closure does not lift because I've secured it and anchored it more towards the ear, okay? Each ear, I should say. So that's how I anchor it, and then I am going to be ready for the sewing. I don't show you the sewing because I've showed you several times how I do the rest of the sewing, so we don't need to go over that. But I'm going around the closure now. I make sure I go around it and make sure that those sides are also well put in place. So you can see that I left the one needle on this left side, and I'm using the other needle on the right side, so I don't have to keep cutting the thread and going back and forth. I have, I think, about four needles, so I make sure that I do not cut the thread because sometimes it'll unravel when you keep cutting the thread. And if you don't want it to unravel, you have to keep knotting the thread. And I feel like every time you knot the thread on the hair, that's a point of possible breakage because you have to make sure that the knot is secure. And in order to do that, it's a little bit tight on the braid, not necessarily on the scalp, but on the braid. And that can break the hair depending on the strength of hair that you have. So I try to minimize that. So as I said, I'm going around and we're chatting. We're having some girl time, yes. And my other sister is also sitting across, on the other side. So we're talking about all kinds of girly girl stuff, yes. And so right there, I'm making sure that I sew a little bit behind the closure, and I sew that part onto the cornrows. That's what I did with mine, as you've seen in earlier videos that I've done a sew in. That's another way to make sure that the hair does not lift, the closure does not lift when the hair starts to grow under it. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, that 4C hair, that nap life, yes, that is some tough hair, okay? It will lift a chair up. If you put a chair on a 4C hair and the hair starts to grow, yeah, it's going to lift that chair up. I'm just telling you. So I'm kidding, you know that. But anyway, we just want to make sure that as the hair grows, it still looks good and firm and tight and, in place. So that's one of the things that I do to make sure it stays secure also. So we're going to finish that part shortly. And we will cut that lace at some point. But yeah, when I cut the thread, it means, yeah, the time has come and I'm about finished with that side. So That's what I do. But you can see how I'm making sure this thing stays secure. You know what I mean? Because we don't want any mishaps. Also note the color of that lace was almost identical to my sister's skin. That's what you want, okay? All right, so everything is done and sewn in. So right now I'm trying to thin out the edges of the closure a little bit because you don't want the hair to end so abruptly at the edge, okay? So it has to look natural, and therefore you have to thin it out. And that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm also going to widen the part a little bit. So this hair came, I think it came pre-parted. And even if it didn't come pre-parted, you can also still just use tweezers and pick out the part and make it a little bit wider than, you know, than it would normally come. So the part has been widened a little bit, not too much, and now we're continuing with the baby hairs. Now I thinned out the edges some. What I need to do now is to shave off some of the hair, and you're going to see what I mean by that. The hair has been thinned at the base. However, baby hairs are wispy and shorter than the rest of the hair, so you want to make sure that at the edges the hair is shorter and, you know, not as long as the rest of the hair, because then that looks kind of tacky. So we're continuing to have girl chat, as you can see, and I am trying to pull out the hair that will be shaved. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the shaving. It's basically using a comb with a razor in between. I think I've shown this in a video before. So if I have, and if I remember which video it is, I'm going to link it, but I feel like I've done it before. So as you can see, the baby hairs are looking gorgeous. She wants them a little bit thinner, so I'm going to thin it out some more. But that is the process that you take to get the thinner baby hairs. And you want to make sure that you don't overdo it, because then it looks kind of nasty. So, and it looks more fake than anything. But these are the hairs that are going to cover up the 4C edges when they grow in. Yes! So the 4C edges are going to stay hidden, or whatever type hair that you have. Really, it doesn't have to be 4C, but you want the edges to stay hidden because they are a different texture from the weave that you put on. But if it is the same texture, if you have the same texture hair as the weave, that's fine. You can just not bother with the wispy ones that I just did. So this is the finished product. It looks fantabulous, and she likes it. I did a great job. Yes, I'm giving myself a pat in the back. Okay, so yeah, throw it all out, girl. Yeah, do your thing. Anyway, so this is it. I hope you like it. Please don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you in the very next video. Thanks. Have a blessed day, okay? Bye-bye.